Hiya, thanks for tuning back in. We're now joined by Shruti Dhumak from Google Cloud, who's going to help us dive into how artificial intelligence is fundamentally reweaving the fabric of enterprise. So, Shruti, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's really good to have you here. Can I kick off with this question? You work with diverse enterprises. So where are you seeing the most significant shift in C-suite priorities due to the emergence of Gen AI?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me here. Nice to meet you, Tim. Yes, we do talk to several customers across industries, and we've spoken to the CTO, CIO, CEO, CEOs, and there's always a change in the narrative and the thought process. And if I think about the timeline, ever since we were speaking about generative AI in 2023 versus now with agentic AI 2025, I see a more matured thought process in implementing use cases. So I have seen where the C suite is looking at a business use case, formulating them internally, and then coming to us. What is it that Google can do from a technology perspective? And what are the changes that are required internally for us to implement? Versus, I think when we were seeing this whole generative AI and AI boom, the engineers were experimenting it. The engineers wanted a platform to test how is this model working versus that. But now when there is leadership, there is sponsorship, there's C-suite leaning in and thinking about it from a business perspective, that is kind of game changing. And I have been listening to this, tech AI and live previous session where the people were talking about intent, and I think that has changed and matured. And when that happens, then there is things around what does it require from a technology perspective. Do we need a change management? What are the gaps in our organizations? I feel that there's a huge shift and a more mature conversations that we're having in 2025 versus 2023 overall.
That is an important shift. And I remember those conversations where it was just about, let's have some stuff called AI, let's just do some stuff. And we've moved, I guess many companies have now moved beyond that, as you describe, into a clever, more strategic way, perhaps, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the single most profound way that AI is redefining the relationship between a business and its customers and its employees and all who else it has to interact with?
I think I can divide it into two things. So if I think about the employees, what has changed is more about hyper personalization. People are talking about data, and your AI is going to work as good as your data is. So I think the companies are rethinking data. Honestly, in my mind, is currency. You
Of
cannot
course.
keep your data in siloed fashion in today's world. I think you want to unify it. I think you want to hyper personalize it. So when it comes to employees, I think it's more about productivity. How do I really use the data, and make use of that data, ask questions. It's just kind of going beyond asking questions, like how do I implement things with this data, and how am I going to provide actionable insights with the data that is in front of me. Well, if my data is at the different places, then how are you going to put it? How are you going to use AI? How are you going to put agents on top of it? So I think the fundamental layer is getting data together, especially when you are using enterprise grade platforms such as Gemini Enterprise for your employees, because the data is more about context now. It is not just ones and zeros, right? We want to know, if I'm thinking about a product, where am I using this product? What did I do with this product 2 months ago? Did I order it? Did I not order it? So now AI is becoming more intelligent, and it has context beyond what Q&A you're doing. Like I have Google Home at my place, so it's more Q&A than Google Home knowing me, what I am, if I what is going around in my house, things like that. So I think we are kind of a step ahead and more matured in the whole AI journey, and things are going a little bit more on a hyper personalization choices where the employees need to feel more efficient and think about the logic of the system than just running the system overall. So I'm seeing organizations where people are trying to understand the processes which were manual, which were trying to be automated and are repetitive. I mean, all of those things are a little outmoded at this moment. I feel like the organizations are moving past that and making use of data and making it accessible across the organizations with guardrails in place, to be accessible to the employees, just to improve their efficiency. And that eventually is kind of going to accelerate your production or time to value or even developer efficiency in different ways. So that is internally. When it comes to customers, I think customers is the entire customer experience is game changing, where whether it is a retail industry that we talk to, or a fintech industry, or banks that are using AI to just take care of the initial tier, and then there's other people who come in from a support perspective. So we have seen tangible real life use cases which are being implemented at the moment, and it is going to kind of change how we visualize things, and especially when it comes to multimodal things, right? There's text, there's video, there is image, so you can play with all of those on our stack, and it is really game changing. So I think the whole fabric is just a relationship and elevation of customer experience versus internally in your organization, just elevating the productivity of our employees, and the employees concentrating more towards the business logic, or thinking about how do we move forward, instead of just getting stuck into some of the internal processes and just running them day to day.
I think your first two answers have touched on a bit of reading I did several months ago, where the comment was that having AI is simply not enough. It's actually about having data, the right data, and how you leverage it. And I think both your answers spoke to that crucial fundamental point. But how about measuring the impact of what you are implementing? I mean, cost savings, yeah, the guys who control the purse strings can do that. But how about the other KPIs that you measure? What sort of measurements should we be looking at?
Yeah, overall, from a leadership perspective, internally as an organization, I think how we need to measure it is with time to value, right? Number one is time to value. How are you really implementing these technologies horizontally, vertically in your organizations, externally, internally in your organization, to make things more efficient? Period. I think that is the fundamental requirement, where you want to go a level above where you are at, mature your organization from a change management, from a technology management, from your technical debt whole situation, to elevate yourself to a level where you can actually measure what is the time to value, whether it is time to value to your product, whether it is time to value to your service, whatever you're developing in your organization. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is very important and should be non-negotiable, is the governance. Because it's one thing about using some of these customer related, we've heard about so many companies like ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini, things like this, where consumers are using it versus an enterprise is using it. So I think in both the cases, the security and the governance is non-negotiable. It is such an important and crucial point that whenever we talk to leaders across different organizations, the most important thing is the change management. Like, what are you putting, what are the teams that you are putting in place? Maybe a center of excellence team which is going to take care of all of these things, where they are creating agents. Multiple agents are going to be created, they're going to use MCP protocol, data is going to be shared between each other. But I think most important thing is the CISO who's sitting in the room and thinking how important that security and governance is going to be. So I think it is part of the conversation. It should be infused at every layer. So that is the second one. The third one is obviously the customer experience. Like I said in my previous answer, I think it is an important and should be kind of a number one KPI to be measured on everything that you're going to implement from technology or people perspective in this today's agentic AI world. How are the customers reacting? How are your customers thinking about it? How are they experiencing? So I think those are the top three ones that I can think of at the moment.
You mentioned just now governance and guardrails, which are altogether vital. I was interested in asking you, what the top two or three non-technical barriers and hurdles there are to implementing effective AI solutions?
Yeah, non-technical, I would say I've seen teams where they are in the experimental mode. I would say this is the most recent one, right? Like it from 2023, 24, 25. I think when you are in the experimental mode and you don't have a clear business case and you don't have clear a success story to implement a use case, that is where the gap is, and that's where the leadership, the sponsorship, the business people, the C-suite comes. It plays a vital role in showing the intent. This is where we want to go. This is what we need, and then we go reverse from that point of view. So whenever we have a conversation with a customer, we want to know what is it that you want to achieve, what is your success metric, and then let's go reverse and let's see what the technology looks like. So I think the conversations need to shift from what is the technology going to do versus what are the business outcomes that you need, and then look at how technology is going to fill the gaps. So I feel when you don't have that, and it's pretty non-technical, so when you don't have the sponsorship and leadership, that's where the gaps are. So that's number one. Number two is also the internal processes. Sometimes you know, there are teams which are not there yet, as in not matured yet, do not have the skill set, or probably have the gap in talent. And that's where, again, some of the managers or some of the VP of engineering or technology and things like that, they have to think about how do they want to expand or see their organization, because there's one thing that us as technology partners can come in and help, but there's another thing about maintaining it for the future and enhancing it by yourself in the future. So I think we always try to think about empowering the organizations so that it's not just one thing done and dusted and we say bye. It's more about, this is a change, this is a transformation, brace yourself, talk to some of the other customers who've, everyone is kind of at the brink of maybe transforming things, but there are some who are ahead of the game than others. So we try to use that ecosystem, talk to each other, and understand what is it in for you in this organization to make this change. And people and technology definitely go in together. The people is absolutely an important part with technology change.
Yes, and we hear that thankfully over and over and over again, and it's so important to stress it. People, and the other thing that we always hear is data, 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 and we've touched on data already. What advice, from your perspective, the perspective of Google Cloud, would you offer professionals to ensure that their transformations are going to be successful, that organizations are absolutely AI ready, and their solutions are scalable?
Absolutely. Yeah, so a couple of things. We generally start with obviously what they want to achieve
Hmm.
with the agentic AI or generative AI, whichever use case. And of course, there's going to be a certain set of data which is going to be enough for that particular use case. There is one thing about being tactical and the other thing about being strategic. So if you're thinking about strategic partnership, we're thinking about strategic change or a big technology change, then we have to think broad, right? And then we have to consolidate the data, or not to keep the data in silos. So we are fundamentally asking the organizations to basically get that sorted first, and there are technology partners who can help organizations to do that. And then we go to the AI shift. So number one is obviously unifying the data, and then number two, we also try to share this, and this is getting a little level deep on technical front, is we try to tell them that the storage and the compute part of data should separate, because I think it is very important for organizations to know that there'll be a set of data which you keep in your tenants, which does not need to be costed. Like, you do not need to pay for that, right? So you don't have, and if you're thinking about scalability, you do not need to have copies of that data, retrieve it again and again. So I think there are these efficiencies and nuances that we generally discuss with our customers, where we want you to implement a technology solution, but at the same time we want it to be cost effective. So, and I can go 10,000 foot up or even go deeper, but there's so many situations where I think it is very important for an organization to know how to keep their data and how to use their data. So we generally have those conversations because cost is kind of a common thing. Everyone wants to do big things, but has to be cost effective.
Okay, I've got my eye on the clock, Shruti, and I think there's only time for one more question, if I may. Um, and the AI landscape is noisy. There are thousands of providers, there are thousands of solutions, thousands of options. Um, for a senior professional who's looking to invest strategically, what's the importance of the cloud provider ecosystem and partnerships, such as the one that Google Cloud maintains, in accelerating your AI adoption and reducing the risk of being locked in to just one vendor?
Yeah, I think it's very crucial because I think when people are planning their journey, whether it's agentic AI throughout transformational journey, partnerships such as with other companies such as Salesforce or others that we have is going to be an enhancement, right? So in simple words, if I am an organization and I'm one of the technology leaders and I'm embarking on this journey, do I want to start at step 5 and then ahead, or do I want to start at step 1? So if the providers or the other partners are giving you one to step 1 to 5, then I would rather make it more easy. And it is also about sustainability, right? There's going to be more compute required for AI. There's going to be more storage required for AI. So am I able to do it by myself? I think those are the questions that the technology leaders generally ask themselves. And if not, we generally push them to ask them. Where I think it's about where you want to start in this journey. Use the technology partners and some of the platforms which are already there who can scale for you, who can maintain things for you, and you can concentrate on your business logic and achieving many more things for your organization. So I think it's a very important shift in AI transformational journey for any organization.
Shruti, look, thank you. We're going to leave it there, but I know you're joining us again in about, is it about an hour's time or something, to talk about the future of Gen AI. So I hope we can welcome you back for that. So thank you for your time right now.